Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Podpinions.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Bruce. And we are back once again.
Oh, boy. The last episode was great with Julie DeVuono.
Yes.
Who works for Scott Pressler.
Mm-hmm. Early Vote Action.
Yep.
Earlyvoteaction.com.
And there's a bunch of stuff that just came up since she was on the show. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about mail-in voting with her in depth.
Yeah.
And
learned a lot, too.
Yeah. Especially with the paper ballot thing. The mail-in ballot was what was getting me. And
right.
She kind of changed my mind on that one.
Yep.
But a federal judge recently blocks the Trump administration from enforcing mail-in voting rules in an executive order. So what Trump did in an executive order was he wanted proof of citizenship, voter ID, and proof that you're actually entitled to vote in the United States. And Washington and Oregon sued over this executive order, and some lefty judge in Washington state upheld it. So I'm sure it's going to wind up going to the Supreme Court, mm-hmm. along with all this other stuff.
I wonder if I guess the federal judge is he appointed?
It was a U.S. District Judge, John Chun.
Okay.
And he said it violated the separation of powers and exceeded the president's authority. And so we shall see what happens.
Okay.
But what is so bad about proving you're an American citizen to vote?
Yeah, I don't get it. Well, I get it.
Yeah,
because the Democrats wouldn't win unless they had illegal voters.
Exactly. So,
in my podpinion.
Right.
Right.
So and then you were talking about, along with this, the SAVE Act, mm-hmm. and that one representative, what's her name?
Luna.
Yeah. She's from Florida, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And she wanted to do, well, she's threatening to hold up the House. I guess she'll do a filibuster or something. I don't know what she'll do.
I know I heard her commenting that she's getting a group together that
they're going to shut down the House if the Senate doesn't pass the SAVE Act,
right.
which is all about voter ID and proving your citizenship.
And it's voter safety.
Yeah.
It's safety for all voters.
To me, this is like common sense stuff.
But if you're trying to take over the country
right,
with an illegal force or an illegal way of action that we can see that's going on all around the country.
So you got to get out and vote. Yes. You have to register. You have to get out and vote.
Yep. You got to, if you've been waiting around, you just got to get registered. Even if you don't want to, in Pennsylvania, you have to register either Democrat or Republican to be able to vote in the primary.
Correct. And the primary, as we discussed the last time, is really important.
Right. That's where you get to pick who is going to run in the big election, general election. So all the Democrats, all the Republicans that want a position, they run in the primaries, and then you vote who you want to represent in the general election.
One of the things that happened a couple years ago, I believe, a lot of the Democrats switched parties so they could vote in the Republican primary to screw stuff up.
Sure. They do that. They do that a lot.
And I'm sure it goes the other way, too.
Yeah, I'm sure also. But also the primaries, there's going to be other positions, whether it's mayor or
school board
whatever. or whatever position they're running on. That's where you get to pick who's going to run in the general election. So I believe you should sign up now. If you're not registered, get registered to vote.
And also ask for a mail-in ballot.
Yes. Ask for a mail-in ballot.
Then watch the episode before this one, episode 29 with Julie DeVuono, and she'll explain the whole process to you, how you use it as a safety.
Right. Backup. It's a lot of good information, a lot of misconceptions out there about mail-in ballots. I know they've been working hard to get the mail-in ballots more secure.
Right.
So you have to sign up every year for a mail-in ballot. You get to know automatically each election that's coming up for the year.
Yeah, sometimes you miss one.
Yeah. And so it's really important. hunters, you're out there.
30% of the hunters in Pennsylvania are not registered to vote.
Right. Come on,
guys, and you're the biggest complainers.
Yes. So let's make this happen. Pennsylvania's not too far away from flipping red. So
it's a good one.
Yeah. We need your help. The country needs your help. All you have to do is vote to help the country. I think it's worth it.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll be right back.
See you soon.
Welcome to Podpinions, where the world's on fire and we show up like it's a backyard barbecue. Politicians roasted, woke trends torched, common sense, we've got you covered.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Episode 30 on the way.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So lots of stuff going on over the weekend besides the big blizzard.
Yes.
Actually, it wasn't really a blizzard because a blizzard, you have whiteout conditions.
That's true.
And we didn't actually have that. We just had a ton of snow.
Yeah. At least it was light.
Fluffy.
In the very beginning, yes. Yep. Fluffy,
thank God.
Yes. Wasn't a heavy snow.
Could you imagine if it was one of those wet snows?
Yeah.
Which we'll get.
I'm
we'll
sure.
definitely get
I'm
one.
sure.
But
it's early enough yet.
Yep. Yeah. So lots going on, especially with this Minnesota thing.
Oh, yeah.
And
is there anybody out there that doesn't know anything about Minnesota yet? Leave it in the comments.
You're right.
We'll fill you in.
Well, the Trump administration won a court victory today, freeing ICE agents from the Minnesota protest restrictions. Again, the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals overturned a lower court ruling that blocked certain tactics against anti-ICE agitators in Minnesota. So what was happening was the ICE agents were arresting people. They were pepper spraying them, et cetera, et cetera. We've seen the videos, right? Flashbangs. And, some woman, what was it, yesterday?
Yeah.
She went to pick up a flashbang to throw it back at the cops, and it blew her fingers off.
Right.
Oh, well. How stupid can you be? Yes. Seriously.
Just call me Lefty.
I don't get it. I really don't get it.
I don't know.
And then she's blaming the cops.
I do get it. It's
and then there's a GoFundMe, and she's raised $100,000 or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like, please.
But it's all it's all funded,
right? Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
So, anyhow, there was this 3-judge panel, the Eighth Circuit, U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, put the stay on the lower court. So now the cops can do whatever they want to do. Pretty much within the boundaries of the law and the Constitution. And what happened was
cops are ICE agents.
Yeah, ICE, police, ATF, whoever's there,
right.
Law enforcement. And they said, we accessed and viewed the same videos the district court did that blocked them. The appeals court said in the ruling, what they show is observers and protesters engaging in a wide range of conduct, some of it peaceful, but much of it is not. They also show federal agents responding in various ways. So good for them.
Yeah.
And good for the ICE agents. And I feel bad for these guys. They're getting stuff thrown at them. They're getting run over, people spitting on them.
And it's all about illegal aliens.
Yeah, right. That's the part I really don't understand is the word illegal means they broke the law.
Correct.
Now, some of them are hardened criminals, but still crossing our border without doing it the proper way is illegal.
Right. And they are targeting first the criminals.
Right.
They are giving a chance to everybody to self-deport.
So Trump sent...
That's still going on.
Well, so now I guess Tim Walz had a chat with Trump yesterday, and they came to some kind of an agreement, which nobody really knows what it is. But all of a sudden, he's letting the local police officers, defend ICE or help them out by protecting them. So therefore, the Border Patrol can go back to the border and do their job. So now Tom Homan is going up there to run things.
Right. Oh, did you know that Obama had given Tom Holdman.
A medal.
A medal. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Yes, I did too.
Absolutely.
Not many people did, though.
No. I mean, he was doing the same job for like how many presidents?
Yeah.
The same exact job that he's doing
Right.
now.
Yep.
But he's evil.
Right.
He's an evil Nazi now.
Yes.
I shouldn't have said that. Because now we're going to get flagged on like YouTube or something. I said the N-word.
The N-word, yes. The other N-word.
Right. So then...
well, it's okay if somebody calls us that. It's
Right.
just not okay if we say it.
correct.
Yeah, right.
So this bozo that got himself killed again this week, and I feel bad that the guy died. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Nobody should be dying.
No.
But it's a real simple concept. Like, stay home.
Mm-hmm. Don't pick up the flashbang. Don't be there to pick up the flashbang.
Right.
You need to still have your fingers.
Exactly.
Right?
Right. Like, so this guy evidently had a, on his Facebook profile, he had the thing from COVID yet with the little circle thing around saying, stay home, save lives, or save lives, stay home, whatever
Right.
it is. So he should have stayed
He
home.
should have stayed home. Yep.
But what happened was he showed up and some woman, I guess, was on the ground or something. So he ran over. The guy's a nurse, or was a nurse. And
This is the earlier one?
no, this is the most recent
Okay,
one.
the recent one.
This guy, what was his name? I don't even remember his name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So anyhow, he was helping this woman out, and the cops came over, ICE, and pushed him out of the way. The guy was also carrying a firearm, a loaded one, under his shirt or under his jacket, which is fine. The guy supposedly had a permit, which he didn't have on him at the
Right.
time, or his driver's license,
Right.
evidently.
That you're supposed to have if you're carrying. Correct.
And in fact, I had an incident. I got pulled over. This is years ago. I had a gun in my pocket, a loaded gun, and I got pulled over by an officer in a supermarket parking lot. He followed me in, and lights went on, and he came over to the car and he said, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And I said, "I have no idea." He said, "Your left brake light is out." It's like, oh, okay, cool. License and registration. So with my driver's license, I handed my concealed carry permit, which was in Pennsylvania, you don't have to do it,
Correct.
but I did it. So he said, "Do you have a gun on you now?" And I said, "Yes." "Where is it?" "It's in my, front right pocket." Out of the car. "Hands on your head." So now I'm standing outside in the parking lot like this, and the guy's patting me down, and people are staring at me. I felt like an idiot. And he took the gun out of my pocket, and I said, "Look, the thing, there's one chambered, there's one in the pipe." And he said, "Now, why would you carry a loaded gun?" And I said, "Well, don't you?"
Right.
So he took it back to his car with my driver's license and all my other stuff. And about 15 minutes later, he comes back, gives me a written warning about the tail light, and hands me my gun in pieces in a baggie. And I looked at him, it's like, "Are you kidding me? I have a permit to carry." He's like, "What are you doing?" "Well, you can't be too safe." I said, "So now I have to put the gun
Right.
back together again and possibly have an accident."
Right.
"Thanks." I mean, he took the whole thing apart.
Right.
I mean, it was a little 380.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Talk about, wow. So anyhow, so this guy was at this protest, more like a wasn't a protest, but you can call it whatever you want. It was
Right.
more like a riot,
Yeah.
a controlled riot. And so they grabbed him. He got into it with one of the ICE agents, I guess verbally. And then somebody yelled, he had a gun under his shirt or under his coat, and which we'll get to in a second. And one thing led to another. He starts like fighting with 6 cops. I mean, that's really stupid. Right. So he's now resisting arrest.
Right. With a loaded
gun in his waistband. So now whether he...
Now, at that point in time, no matter who you are, whether you're a town cop, state cop, federal agent, ICE agent, you don't know whether you have a legal right to carry. You don't know whether
exactly
it's loaded. Yeah.
So somebody yelled
you're
gun.
fighting with 6
Right. So
officers.
one of the cops grabbed the gun out of his holster, which was a Sig Sauer P320, which has major issues. Like you can't give them away now, right? Because, well, we'll get to that in a second. So evidently, as he was pulling the thing out of the guy's holster, it went off. Now, everybody's, well, the slide didn't go back. You know, his finger wasn't on the trigger. Well, with this gun, there's like major problems that it goes off by you drop it.
Off,
yeah, it goes off.
I believe even law enforcement has stopped using it. Right?
Correct. Uncommanded discharge is what it's called. And the slide will not cycle. It just, we've, at the range, well, one of our buddies has like 4 of them, and we were messing with it. And sure enough, you slam the thing or you pick it up and it'll go off. And Sig swears up and down that there's nothing wrong with them, but
something's going on.
Yeah, there's lawsuits and everything else going on. It's we'll get to that in a minute. So, and then it turns out this guy that got shot, Pretty, whatever his name is, he had a to-do with ICE the week before and got into an altercation with one of these guys, and they broke his ribs. So they already knew who he was.
Or at least
right.
They don't know if these officers knew who he was. But.
Well, yeah, they don't know.
Right.
But still, one of the cops yelled gun several times.
Right.
And boom. And the one gun, his gun went off. It was an accidental discharge.
Now, let's change the scenario. What would have happened if the officer had said, turn around, put your hands on your head or whatever, patted him down, grabbed a gun, and it went off? That may have been a little bit different scenario instead of
absolute fighting with
six cops going on.
Right.
With, all these officers, the chaos, the not knowing what's going on.
And
gun goes off.
Screaming and yelling, horns blowing, whistles in your face.
So, sorry, but don't do that.
Right. Stay home. Save lives.
Yes, exactly. Save
Pretend
your own
it's
life.
COVID time.
Yes. Save your own life.
But there was I showed this to Bruce earlier. There was an article that I read online that was, I thought it was quite interesting. It was about Saul Alinsky and how these people in Minnesota are following that playbook to a T. And some of the key tactics from Saul Alinsky's work was pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. Isolate a specific person in power, making them the face of the opposition and forcing a you or them divide, which is what they're doing. Then ridicule is man's most potent weapon. Ridicule is hard to counter and provokes overreactions benefiting the organizers. So they're ridiculing these cops. They're ridiculing Trump. They're ridiculing anybody,
It's tactics.
Absolutely. Make the enemy live up to its own book of rules.
There was some prominent figures recently that were in prominent positions that were students of Alinsky.
And who could that be?
One was a president.
Yes. Barack Obama.
Yes. Who was the other one?
Hillary Clinton.
Yes. Amazing, isn't it?
Unbelievable. So make the enemy live up to its own book of rules, and you exploit the target's laws, regulations, or values to highlight contradictions and hypocrisy. Go outside the experience of the enemy. Use unfamiliar tactics to keep opponents off balance. So what they're doing is these whistles, they're you name it. I mean, it's like out of control.
Now,
so according to this article, what unfolded in Minnesota is textbook Alinsky inspired agitation. So the guy who wrote the article, he said, my conclusion hasn't changed since day one. Alex Pretty bears ultimate responsibility for his actions, which put him in a volatile situation that spiraled out of control. He chose to confront and harass law enforcement officers. He chose to go armed. His Second Amendment right, which is fine, right? But then irresponsibly inserted himself into a dangerous confrontation where things escalated rapidly. Those are called poor choices.
Exactly.
So he made like really dumb choices put himself in a spot, and he got shot.
Yep. Now it'll be interesting to see. Now, to be fair, not all of these protesters, air quote protesters, are in on this scheme.
No, but they're falling for it.
Right. But you're having the organizers that are training them.
They even have
what
phone
to
apps.
do. Yes. There was on X last couple days. They have a whole written playbook, basically, instruction manual of what to do. And this is exactly what they're talking about. What's going on in Minnesota is textbook Alinsky. And then prior to that, there's other,
Well, the girl that ran the guy over and got shot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Same thing.
Yep.
So what this guy was talking about is they served as useful idiots.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Dying while opposing the enforcement of our nation's laws.
Mm-hmm.
So the cops and the ICE agents and whatnot are doing a really tough job. They're enforcing congressional enacted laws amid harassment from crowds with bullhorns, whistles, and intimidation tactics. Meanwhile, leftist-dominated media shows only the end result, screaming, look how bad Trump's law enforcement is acting.
So you get a 3-minute clip of this guy dying or this woman dying, but you don't see
everything else.
Every day, these officers, male and female, are under this attack, and they're showing that these agitators are going to the hotels they're staying at, trying to break in the lobbies, the whistles, people cutting them off in the road, trying to block them,
throwing things at them.
And there's also videos out there. I saw one video of one of the officers, a woman was trying to block him off. He got out and basically said, here's your choice. Turn around, go home. Or
he let her off.
Right. And she made the smart decision
and went home.
So to just point this out as some kind of, they have tunnel vision and they're just going in all guns a-blazing, is all nonsense.
According to this article, it's not standard protesting. Peacefully marching with signs is one thing. Forming teams to chase, harass, intimidate, and escalate, and ignoring lawful orders, leading to chemical irritants being deployed is chaos.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a protest. It's agitation, harassment, and obstructing justice, which are illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So, and resisting arrest compounds it. So that's what this guy did, too. I mean, they were going to arrest him, and he fought back, which is stupid,
right?
Especially when you have a loaded gun in your person. So
we've all seen most of us anyway, have seen the arrests that went, and not for nothing, this is what happened with George Floyd.
Well, that was the other thing. We were talking about this earlier about Minneapolis is like the hub for Black Lives Matter, the whole George Floyd mess, and Antifa.
That's where that was
formed.
The birth of.
Is Minneapolis.
Yep.
So that's why this is going on. And, that's our Podpinion.
Yes.
Why it's going on.
Exactly. And we've seen videos of places burning.
But it's a peaceful protest.
Yes. Mostly peaceful.
Oh, that's what it was.
It was mostly peaceful as the stores burning out of control in the background. But the pallets of bricks.
Oh, they were delivered.
Yeah.
Right.
And they just showed up. All this is organized.
That was during the Summer
paid.
of Love.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's right. The Summer of Love. And mostly peaceful protests in the Summer of Love. So all this is going on behind the scenes. We're hearing we have a very now infamous, if she didn't try to make herself infamous before, representative in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar. And she is everybody's investigating her now. I just heard about this morning about the air quotes winery
what was that all about? She had a winery.
Yeah.
Did you know that? I didn't
know that. You can't. It must be good because you can't buy it anywhere.
Right.
And they showed video going up.
Okay, so now if she had this winery, where they're investigating what exactly? There was money.
She put down that her she went from negative 65,000 or 68,000 when she became elected to worth like 30 million now.
Okay.
So part of that she put down on the documents, you have to put down where this money comes from, is a lot of this came from the winery. So somebody started investigating about the winery. Why is it so successful? And her third husband, no relation,
not her brother,
is somehow either on this or started this or whatever, part of the winery. So they start investigating this. They look at the address. They try to contact the number. They go online to buy the wine. There's no wine. And I believe even it might have been Benny Johnson that did most of the reporting. I'm not sure if he went out to the address or not, but I know he showed it on Google Maps.
And where was it?
It's like two like warehouse looking buildings or industrial buildings, but the name doesn't match the winery's name.
Oops.
So
yeah, but where was the money coming from? Was this one part of the Somali thing?
I'm
Nobody
sure
knows yet.
it's got to be some kind of laundering.
Great.
You know, in my Podpinion, it's got to be some
Money
laundering
deal
that inflated her wealth.
I can't wait for all this stuff to just hit the fan and see people go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were talking about this earlier.
It's like getting like ridiculous now. Like, okay, there's, the excuse is always politics is dirty.
No, this is beyond.
Yeah. This is.
I mean, people are dying now.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
But I just don't understand. To me, it's all common sense. And these people are out of their minds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, they've got a vested interest in staying in power, obviously, for money, wealth. They need the people, the useful idiots out there to vote for them and to protest and
to die for them.
And to die for them, because they're not going to do it. You don't see the representatives out there with machine guns and grenades going into war, do you? No. They're in, their office, and that's what's happening here. It's just that that's happening in our own country right now.
It's just bizarro.
Yeah.
Now, getting back to this this nurse that got shot, he was carrying a Sig Sauer P320, and it's been the subject of significant controversy and dozens of lawsuits alleging uncommanded discharges, which is what we're talking about before. The gun actually fires without the use of pulling the trigger. Sig swears up and down it's not so. And they haven't had a formal recall. Mm-hmm. Although everybody I know that owns one, they've had issues.
Mm-hmm.
So they did have a fix. You could send your gun back and they would fix it for you. What they were doing, I don't know.
Even though it was not a problem. They
Correct.
Could fix it.
Yeah. Send your gun in. We'll fix it for you. Well, if there's no problem, what are you fixing? Right?
Yeah.
I guess they just didn't want to deal with like a major recall or something. Because then they're really going to be up a creek financially.
Probably
they had
money to buy wine or something.
Right.
I don't know.
They had the drop safety defect. In 2017, testing revealed that early P320s would go off if you dropped it. Oops.
Mm-hmm. I remember seeing videos of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So they had a voluntary upgrade program.
Okay.
And now they're having uncommanded discharges. So critics and plaintiffs allege the P320 is effectively fully cocked at rest. Unlike some other striker-fired pistols like Glocks, making it more vulnerable to accidental firing of if internal safeties are bypassed or fails. So what's happening is the safety, for some reason, the internal safety, is disengaging when it's in battery, meaning when it's fully loaded and ready to shoot. And so if you pick it up or jar it or something, it could just boom. I've seen videos where this thing's going off in a guy's holster.
Right. I just recently saw one because of all the hoopla with this guy. Basically, the guy, held the gun sideways and squeezed and
it went off.
He just went like this and it went off. He did it twice.
Right. So law enforcement and military, they've had incidents. Over 100 incidents have been reported involving injuries to at least 33 officers across 18 agencies. In early 2026, the Department of Homeland Security investigated an accidental discharge involving Alex Preddy's handgun that may have led to the fatal shooting in Minneapolis. So what they're saying is that when this officer pulled the thing out of Alex Preddy's holster, it accidentally went off, which is a possibility. And then, they hear a gunshot, boom, they all unload on this dude. So that makes sense.
Right. So
agency responses, the Milwaukee Police, Houston Police, Dallas Police have previously suspended or ended the P320's use. They took them out of circulation with their departments. The Air Force in 2025 paused use of the M18, which is the military version of the P320. And after a fatal incident, it's just so that's a very good possibility of what happened.
Now, let's look into the crystal ball.
It goes on and on and on, but
let's look into the crystal ball.
Gun control.
Yes.
That's next.
Yep. That'll be the big push now.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. It always is.
Yep.
So invest in
that,
folks.
Don't fight with 6 officers
and don't show up to it. Yeah, don't show up with a gun.
With a gun or a loaded gun or get your ribs broke confronting officers the week before. It's going to be, the gun is the problem, and they're going to want to ban all guns. So that's the whole end game. The basic, all this going on in Minnesota is going on because they haven't successfully disarmed the United States yet. Because if they disarmed the United States citizens by now, they wouldn't have to do all this.
Now, funny you should mention this, but did you happen to see or watch the news this morning where they were talking about the British have been running our foreign affairs for since the Revolutionary War, right? And Trump finally said, "Nope, not going to happen."
Davos, right?
Right. Yeah. So he read them all a riot act, and now they're flipping out. I think it's great what he's doing.
Yeah. They just changed the military's protocol. Pete Hegseth did that. So that we're going to concentrate on the Western Hemisphere. China is going to be basically, we're going to not control China, but confront China with our power versus confrontation. So in other words, we're going to become powerful, peace through power. So that they don't want to mess with us.
I really don't think they would. Well, I don't think Putin would.
I think they would if we had another 4 years of.
But notice they don't even talk about Taiwan anymore. Have you guys noticed that?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Not a peep.
So what was Taiwan? Was it just a reason to get us into war?
I don't know.
It's like the psychological game we've been under and fog we've been under for the last 40, 50 years. It's all starting to kind of make sense.
We were discussing earlier how some of the things we talk about here, like 10 years ago, were considered like major conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah. Like we'd be sitting around here with tinfoil hats,
but they're all coming true now,
right?
Yeah,
and
people still think we're nuts.
That's one of the reasons I think we had our education system stop teaching history.
Good point.
So they don't know. They don't have an idea of what happened in the past, because if you don't know what happened in the past,
how would you know what to do?
You're not going to know not to do it in the future.
Right. Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. It's and when you really, the problem is people don't want to get into it because it's not pretty. It's not a point that you want to kind of admit to yourself that you've been, the wool's been pulled over your eyes for all these years, and you've believed in a system that really was phony. It wasn't there to make America the best, because here we are. We've given all our manufacturing, we've given all our technology out across the world. And I mean, COVID, the pandemic, pretty much told us that, we couldn't get, even though now we know about the masks, we couldn't get masks because China couldn't produce them fast enough. Why can't we produce them here? Right?
Good question.
Why can't we produce medical pharmaceuticals
Vitamins.
here?
I actually had, this is really funny. Well, it's not funny. It's funny, not ha-ha, funny,
right.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I bought a bottle of vitamins. On it, it's, ready for this? Ingredients from China assembled in the United States.
We don't have vitamin C here. We don't have rose hips.
I couldn't believe this, right? I mean, tiny little itty bitty. I just happened to notice it. It's like, wow.
I mean, what do we make here? We make vehicles that we have parts made in Mexico, made in Canada, and we assemble them here, right? What else do we make here?
Nothing.
Airplanes?
Nothing. Even
everything
those parts,
else.
some of those parts are like from elsewhere.
And the big thing is, well, they're too expensive. Well, why? Why are they too expensive?
Unions.
But I mean, even a mom and pop, I don't know, little place makes jeans, for instance. So they're $5 more. I mean, you go buy a pair of jeans now, they're $70.
And they have holes in them.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the non-holy ones that used to cost $70, or, the holy ones used to cost $70, $90. Now the regular ones cost
I actually found Wrangler jeans on sale for $20 a pair.
Did you?
I did.
Wow. That's pretty good.
I bought quite a few pairs.
Where were they made?
Good question. I could take my pants off right here and we could look.
We'll wait on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't know. But probably not
clothes, furniture, pharmaceuticals.
I had an Orvis shirt, right?
Plastic. Yeah.
Got to get our microplastics in tonight. I actually had an Orvis shirt, a fishing shirt, right? Really nice shirt. It was made in Vietnam, and the thing cost like $150.
Yeah. Well,
how do you justify that?
I can't.
Right.
I can't.
Bizarro.
Yet people will complain that there's it's too expensive to buy American made. But
$150 for a Vietnamese shirt.
Right.
What's wrong with this picture? Seriously.
We've all been buffaloed.
Unbelievable.
The wool's been pulled over our eyes.
Half the stuff
we've been told to go invest in everything. Don't worry about nothing else. Everything will be okay. Well, it's not okay. Unfortunately, we talked about this earlier. The boomer, generation, they're one of the most, if not the most wealthiest generation in history, right? But they're also going to go down as the generation that really kind of sealed the doom of the United States if we don't turn it around, because they let everything get sold out. Their kids and their grandkids can't buy a house. They can't go down to the corner market and grab dinner without it being imported or injected or colored or something else, to make it cheaper for the wealth. That's what we've sold ourselves out for is for wealth. And I think chickens are coming home to roost now, and it's time to.
I hope you're right.
Change the direction.
Because I've been the purveyor of doom and gloom lately.
Yeah.
No, I just
well,
don't.
we all have.
I want to see
I
people
told you a
arrested.
couple weeks ago. I said, I'm done, and I'm serious. I'm done. I want results.
Well, that's where I'm at.
But I still see what they're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were discussing this earlier as well. Pam Bondi.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm really disappointed in her. Big
Kash
time.
Patel, Pam Bondi, even Dan Bongino.
Yeah, why did he quit?
Why did he leave? I want to know. We deserve to know.
I mean, he says that it was for personal reasons.
Well,
I don't
that's
buy
okay,
it.
but we got to know.
I don't buy it.
Yeah. You see Kash Patel sitting there doing interviews with his girlfriend who's trying to be a country music star. I don't care. You told us you were going to go in and
clean house
and close down the building, turn it into a museum, and send FBI out to do a job. And like you brought up earlier, the FBI is supposed to be backing up ICE and taking care of the agitators.
Yeah,
and
not Border Patrol.
Right. So,
well, that was a whole thing with the local law enforcement was told from the top down in Minnesota to, back down and not to help ICE out. So now all of a sudden they're going to start helping out, protecting ICE.
And the problem becomes then also is same with the generational wealth. You're looking at your pension, your 401. I got to take an order or I'm going to lose all that stuff. Well, sometimes it's time to kind of man and woman up and let's save the country, because your kids are going to have nothing. Your grandkids are going to have nothing if we don't turn it around. I mean, I talk to these young people all the time, and it's like, what do they have to look forward to? They're working, trying to put tires on their car, or this goes, they're just trying to survive and trying to make their way without trying to depend on their parents. And you set the game up that they can't win. They're losing. So a lot of young people these days don't have trust in the government, either side, Democrats, Republicans, and I don't blame them. Everything that's coming out, it's just been a goal to overthrow the government, or not the government, basically the United States way of life. And, what are you doing? What are you doing to stop it? That's, it's not blowing whistles at ICE agents. That's not going to.
That does get you shot.
Right. Well, not only shot, but you're not solving the issue of jobs. And, we haven't even gotten into all of the H-1B visas, they bring in these kids, put them in school, or bring them over and hire them for these companies because, quote unquote, American workers won't do the job or can't do the job.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, it's nonsense. And then they, basically make their own countries rich. They come in here.
Have you ever gone to Walmart to with the Western Union thing? There's a line.
No.
People sending money back to wherever their home country is.
Well, I just watched something this morning about the schooling. They make a deal with the schools, these higher education schools. They come in, they don't have to pay taxes. They get an education, tax-free. They don't have to pay Social Security if they're working because they're on these visas. They don't have to pay Social Security, all this stuff. And basically, either they bank it or send it back to their countries. Or they send it, the people that bring them in here, they have, hiring agencies that bring them over here. They get a cut, and everybody's
making money but us.
making money off the money we pay for taxes.
When I'm saying us, I don't mean us. I mean us. The country.
The country. And, every bill that they pass that's going to fund this, going to fund that, going to fund this, that's all going to the debt, because we have to pay the debt first before we even get to the $1 trillion they want to spend on whatever stuff they want to spend this year. That's on top of the $38 trillion that we're already in debt. So kids, grandkids, great grandkids, they're going to be paying for generations.
Mikey Sherrill, the new governor of Jersey,
yes,
right? She's like losing it because Trump has a funding freeze now for all the states that, sanctuary cities and states, sanctuary states. Actually, and so there was this. There was a gateway tunnel funding not restored, right? There's 100,000 jobs are going to be lost, she says. So there was actually, it's a $16 billion gateway tunnel project. So it's going to, I guess, replace the PATH train from Jersey into Manhattan.
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. But it's a major rail infrastructure effort under the Hudson River that will link New Jersey to New York. Well, there's two now.
Maybe she got the plans from Gavin Newsom.
Oh, maybe. That high-speed train thing.
Yeah.
So there's two trains that go now. I mean, I'm sure they've been there forever. But if President Trump does not restore funding to this project, which I helped secure while serving in Congress, he will single-handedly kill nearly 100,000 jobs and $20 billion in economic activity. No, she is by harboring illegal aliens.
Correct.
If she gives it up, she gets her money.
Right. Stop.
It's really a very simple concept.
So, but then they would have to use state money to do that, and they couldn't fund medical, housing, EBT, all this stuff that, the federal funds are paying, so the state doesn't have to pay for it. So they would actually have to pay something, right?
I guess.
And that's another thing with the federal funds is when you pay your federal taxes, it's spread out all across 50 states. So just because you don't live in New Jersey or Minnesota or Los Angeles doesn't mean that your tax money doesn't go there, because federal money goes everywhere. So you are funding that with your federal tax deductions.
I just find it interesting that he is banning federal money going to the sanctuary states.
Yeah, it's great.
I think it's fantastic. So now Patrick Duffy, but not Patrick Duffy. That's the actor. Sean Duffy. Aquaman.
Wasn't he on the...
He was on Dallas, too.
That's right.
But he was also like Aquaman or something. Yeah. But no, Aquaman.
If you're under 50, you're going to have to look that up. But who shot JR?
But no, Aquaman. Wasn't that he was like some...
Maybe. I don't remember.
I forget. It was like a real short-lived, stupid show. Okay. I think he was in that. Anyhow, so it's Sean Duffy, not Patrick Duffy. He said time is up for Gavin Newsom. He's withholding $160 million over the illegal trucking licenses that Gavin Newsom gave out to all these illegal aliens. They gave out CDL licenses, and 17,000 of them actually. And he's yanking them back.
Now, it would be different if the license was only good in California and they kept.
No, but they're all over the place.
Right.
Remember
they're all over the country.
That family got killed in Florida.
Yep.
They can't read or write English, and how they're going to read this street signs?
Right.
They can't.
But if you're born here and worked hard your whole life. You have to pass these regulations and you have to do all this, but they
pass
don't.
all these tests. And
Right.
They just zoom them through. So the final determination issued by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration after California missed a January 5th deadline to cancel all those licenses. So, oops.
Yeah.
But my question is, are these guys still going to be on the road with suspended licenses?
I don't know. I guess that would depend on how many lawsuits are going to the companies that hire them. I mean, what's going on with that?
I don't know. They should all
so that's really
find up the yin yang.
That's really yes, they have a license, but if it's going to be illegal to have that license, then I guess the trucking companies are going to have to start getting lawsuits, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
And
not just the trucking companies, but the people that they're
not only the trucking companies, but the merchandise companies that are
using them,
using these trucking companies. I think it should all be, even from the docks on the, containers being shipped in.
I'm sure that the dock workers, there's a whole bunch of illegals working there.
Well, I'm saying that the trucks that have to pick up the stuff from the docks to go to the warehouse to these, I mean, the manufacturers in China, then they should pay for it too.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So they're starting to actually punish these sanctuary states.
Mm-hmm. But what's good is they're actually going for the heads.
Right. They're not going for the little guys.
Right. They're not just targeting the drivers.
No.
Because that's what happened all the time. They'd arrest a couple people, make a couple examples, and then these states would continue doing what they're doing, funding, their illegal voting
their voter base.
Body base. Yes.
Their voter base.
And everybody's getting wise to the con.
I hope so.
And
although I look on social media at some of these people and they're just flipping out.
Mm-hmm.
I got attacked viciously yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I said this guy shouldn't have been in Minneapolis on the street with a gun.
Well, it comes to a point. We talked about this earlier too.
We talked about a lot of stuff earlier.
Either they've been we talked about these government scientific findings about psychological warfare and brainwashing and all this stuff. So either they are a 100% good result for these types of psychological warfare, because they're completely brainwashed. They can't think for themselves, or they're in on it,
or both.
So there's really, the choices are kind of dwindling down to what's going on here.
What amazes me is the lack of, they say that we don't listen or we don't know what we're talking about, but I'll sit there with facts and they keep telling me I'm full of shit with my facts. How could you believe that? That's Trump speaking, You sound like Trump speaking. It's like, no, this is from the New York Times, or this is from, when you look, FBI database.
When you look at it, they're the loudest, right? They're always mostly the same group. So are they the same as these people going out, the people training these other ones, or are they?
Now, who's training these guys?
Right. So are they making money? Have they made money in their life that they're in a position that they can't give it up and they have to keep pushing this? I don't know. But it's starting to become apparent that that's a good possibility.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That
they're not just loon balls.
But Bruce, this is a conspiracy theory.
Yes,
now.
so we got to get the tinfoil hats out.
Absolutely. Now, did you hear about this nurse in Virginia?
Oh, yeah.
This is crazy.
And since this came out, I've seen a bunch of it. So go ahead.
It's not just her.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's others. But
one more thing to worry about.
So this nurse, she's anti-ICE, and she worked at the Virginia Commonwealth University Health and Health Center, it was a hospital. So she's being investigated now because she's instructing healthcare providers to sabotage ICE agents.
Now, she did that on her posts on the internet.
On the interwebs. Thank you,
Al Gore. But, I mean, she put this out there.
Which I can't believe somebody would be that stupid.
Well,
to put it on Facebook or TikTok or whatever. It was TikTok, I think.
Or Instagram, one of them.
One of them. So, it was a now deleted TikTok account. Redhead Redemption was her handle. And she was quickly identified as an employee at VCU Health. Her popular X account, the popular X account, Libs of TikTok, posted a compilation of 3 of her TikTok videos. So what she was doing was a sabotage tactic. She was telling other nurses to get syringes with needles and fill them up with succinylcholine. I believe that's how you say it. Or whatever, she said in this video. That will probably be a deterrent. Be safe. And this drug is an anesthetic that causes rapid short-acting muscle paralysis. So she's telling other nurses to load up syringes with this stuff and stick the ICE agents with it. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. That if they come in for treatment and they happen to know they're an ICE agent.
No, she's telling them to go out on the street and do this.
Okay.
Hit them on the street.
Okay. Well, I've seen a couple nurses making videos, and again, Libs of TikTok. If you haven't looked them up.
Right. Then one of her other videos, she's telling people she's dressed in scrubs, and she suggests using poison ivy and poison oak to infect others. So this is quoting her. Okay, for today's resistance tip, I vote anybody got any poison ivy, poison oak in their yard. Get some of that with gloves, obviously, and get it in some water, like a gallon of water, and get the poison ivy water, and I'm going to put it in a water gun. Aim for faces and hands. So she's telling people to go out and spray ICE agents with poison ivy and poison oak. And then in the third video that she put up on TikTok, she sends a message to single women telling them to go on dates with ICE agents and spike their drinks. Single ladies, where these ICE guys are going, have a chance to do something, not without risk, but it could help the cause for sure. Get on Tinder, get on Hinge, find these guys. They're around. If they're an ICE agent, bring some X-Lax and put it in their drinks. Get them sick. Nobody's going to die, just enough to incapacitate them. Get them off the street for the next day. So anyhow, she is now being investigated. Frankly, she should be fired and arrested, but I guess they're going to investigate this.
Have to see if the FBI is available to investigate.
This is so out, it's never coming back. I mean, seriously.
But I have seen other videos of other healthcare professionals just exactly kind of what happened with the pandemic, threatening people that if they're conservative or if they're a MAGA or, not, or, for ICE or whatever, if they find out, if they look them up and they find on their social media or whatever that they're conservative, that they're, they'll
do something
or refuse to treat them. I see the anesthesiologist basically saying he'll make up an excuse to not do an operation or something like that, refuse treatment. So this is where we're headed. And, we talked about this earlier too, about they're trying to push for a confrontation.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, they're trying to push the conservatives into
the
a civil
breaking point,
war.
right? But it's not going to happen.
No, you guys are smart enough. We're smart enough. You can't take the bait. They're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at it. Everything right now.
I mean, I'm pissed, but I stand there and I laugh at them
because
it's pathetic.
Yeah, and once you see it, it's like I don't know. It's like a toddler throwing a fit at the checkout line for a piece of candy.
The only difference being that these toddlers are dangerous.
Well,
because they're causing physical harm to people.
Right. But what I'm saying is it's the same thing. If you sit there and laugh at them and don't pay attention, there's two things going to happen. They're going to get violent or they're going to stop because you're not affected by it.
Not at all.
The only way you can be affected by it
is if you react.
If you react and coddle them to your attention that they need. And if you don't, like I said, it would happen with a toddler too. If you don't pay attention, to come up and, some toddlers hit you or something like that because you're not paying attention to them. It's human nature. And so that's my view on it. It's frustrating, but sit back and laugh at them.
Absolutely. It makes them crazy.
Yeah. Because
don't react.
Yeah.
That's the best torture you could possibly give.
And I told you, I saw that one guy, this was weeks ago when this Minneapolis stuff started. He was carrying a flag, and I think he was walking through.
Oh yeah, he
was
yeah,
protesters or whatever.
But he was holding it funny,
but he was gripping the flag like you don't grip the flag like that if you're. There's one way to protect the flag, and there's one way to just make it look like you're, I don't know, patriotic or whatever. I don't know what he was trying to do, but he was like, we need all the MAGA out here now. Everybody needs to drop what they're doing and get out to Minneapolis. We need to fight this right now. And it's like, who are you? This is nonsense.
That's going back to what part of illegal don't they get?
Right. No, but he was supposedly a MAGA supporter or conservative.
Do you believe that?
No. Not with his actions. It was truly somebody acting like a conservative, trying to start trouble. In other words, trying to pump up conservatives to go out to Minneapolis and confront these quote unquote protesters. And it was so obvious after you've been through this so many years. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
You just made me think of something. How many of these protesters, air quotes, are actual Minneapolis residents?
Right.
I'd wonder.
Yeah. Well, there's videos out there too of high school buses dropping students off. The schools letting them out to go, quote unquote, protest, blow whistles at ICE and all this other stuff. Other buses bussing people in. Same thing happened with, George Floyd protests. It happened with the J6. So all this is organized. It's all organized. And people are now starting to actually see it. I mean, we've seen it
for a long time.
And that's what's been frustrating.
People were saying we were conspiracy theorists.
Right. But now there's actual documented, travel, positions. Everybody has a cell phone. There's people out there tracking cell phone data from this point to this point and from back to that point and then from that point to the next protest, quote unquote. So all the technology that we didn't have,
we now have,
and we can use that.
But they're doing the same thing. They're taking pictures of ICE agents' license plates, and they're tracking them.
It used to be that conservatives didn't want to get bothered by all that stuff. We just wanted to go to work, leave us alone.
Yeah, exactly.
But now we're starting to use the same tactics that they've been using,
and they don't like
on
it.
them. Same with the mail-in ballots. They've used them for years. They embraced it, and
Now
COVID.
we're fighting back with it.
So now it's our turn to use them and use them correctly and just win elections. Just win elections.
Now, one of the things that they're doing now is the far left in D.C., this one suburb, tells the residents, ready for this? Call 911 if they see ICE. Now, this is Arlington County, which is a really big county, just over the bridge from D.C. And
who's telling them that?
The Arlington County Chairman, Matt DeFerenti, says calling emergency service helps officials prevent violence and reduce harm during federal immigration enforcement. So Arlington County is like one of the most liberal counties in Virginia. And they're urging their residents to report sightings of ICE agencies or ICE agents to emergency services as if they were common criminals spotted on the street. Now, can you imagine what this is going to do to the Arlington Police Department?
Well, not only that, but the 911 center.
Exactly. It's going to overload everything.
Isn't that illegal?
Of course it is.
You're not supposed to call unless it's an emergency, correct?
Correct.
So you're overloading the system completely to somebody who may be actually having a medical emergency.
Right, exactly.
Or, quote unquote, these protesters get hurt and try to call 911.
Oops. No, they actually have their own medics. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that.
That stupid idiot that picked up the flashbang and blew her fingers off. Yeah. She starts screaming, "Medic, medic, medic!"
Right.
So, and then these two people were on her in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm.
So we're at war, right?
Right.
We're at war.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of odd.
So I wonder if it's like that. Where was that? That guy that pulled the principal that was elected official that pulled the fire alarm.
Oh yeah, nothing happened to him. Remember that?
And he said he didn't know that was a fire alarm.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a principal of the school, right? Yeah. You don't know what a fire alarm looks like?
Of course he did. Yeah, and nothing happened to him. Yeah. I think he got a slap on the wrist, and that was
but he wasn't reelected. He did,
that's a good thing.
Not get reelected.
All right.
Yeah.
So
he's probably going to fire alarm school, learn a fire alarm.
He sells them now. Yeah. He's a fire alarm salesperson.
Not only do I sell them, I've used them.
Right. So Governor Glenn Youngkin just left, and the brand new governor, Abigail Spangenberger, has since rescinded this whole Department of Homeland Security thing. She doesn't want any part of it. So they're all in cahoots to do this. Mm-hmm. That's just wrong.
You all see this, right? It's like you see what's going on.
It's
10 years ago, maybe not.
So this community, there's 245,000 people, lies directly west of Washington, D.C., spanning the Potomac River from Ronald Reagan National Airport north to Chain Bridge, and has been the anchor of Democratic might in the Old Dominion, according to this article. So this chairman, Matt DeFerenti, he's a Democrat from Rock Spring, urged Arlingtonians to remember that the county law prohibits all residents and public safety professionals from interfering with the enforcement of federal immigration law. Although he's telling them to call 911.
To call 911.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be interesting the way that one plays out.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
I'm still waiting to see people taken away in handcuffs.
Yeah. Well,
it just has not happened yet.
Again, I think you have to cut off the head of the snake. So you got to, first of all, you got to cut the funding to these things. And I think that's what's happening. You got, the drug cartels are in a bind with Venezuela being shut down.
Nobody's talking about that right now.
No,
nothing.
No. Well, they can't pay the cell phone bills, so I guess you can't communicate. I don't know what it is.
Everything is on Minnesota now.
Yes.
Everything else just went away.
Right. So you're taking away that funding. He's still putting tariffs on countries now that are going to support this stuff. So that's funding that's going to have to be paid that they can't use to other things. So I think the plan is to start to bankrupt these people, and they're going to be kind of left standing. I mean, obviously we have them. We've closed the southern border. We'll have to see what's going on at the northern border. But once both borders are shut down, if he gets Greenland under control, Canada's right in the middle. They're going to have to start towing the line. And once you start controlling the northern border, which is a lot, I think, tougher than the southern border because it's so wide and there's so much area that you have to control. Once you do that, basically you have all these idiots trapped within our borders.
Yeah, but then
and
what?
then, guess, got to take them to school. I don't know. But at least you're cutting off the funding. You're cutting off the drug money. You're cutting off, stuff getting shipped in here, whether it's humans or products or poison or the drugs, and you're locking everything in. So you've kind of created a kind of a wall. I don't know whether that's part of the Golden Dome that Trump talks about.
It might be.
You know what I mean?
That would make sense.
Yeah. It's not just missiles in the air.
Right.
You know what I mean? That Monroe Doctrine is coming into play more than I think people realize. I know people that want to control this country see it.
Oh, absolutely.
You can tell at Davos.
I mean, just they were going nuts.
Yeah.
And then poor little Gavin Newsom wasn't allowed to play.
That
absolutely cracked me up. That guy, he's standing there and they wouldn't let him in.
I watched the vein right here. He was just pulsing.
Then he was called what? Glitter Ken?
Yes.
Which was great.
Yep.
Love it.
Love it. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, we did. We did. It's awesome.
More stuff coming up.
Yeah. There's nonstop, that's for sure. Definitely lots to talk about, lots of podcasts out there. So tune in ours. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that really helps us, and share it.
Yeah, please share it.
Yeah, because that gets our name out there. We want some more followers. And then also just I know you had gotten a couple comments about comments on like YouTube. YouTube
people can't comment on YouTube.
The way YouTube is set up, the way I have to have it go out there so it will connect to our website that I'm working on. They shut off the comments. We don't have any control on that. So if you want to comment, go to Rumble, comment on our videos there, or they could also email us at louder@podpinions.com.
There you go.
So,
and the merch is coming soon.
Yes.
People have been asking about merch.
Yep. I seen it.
That's right.
Right there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So we'll see you next time.
All right. Have a good one. Stay warm. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Slam the follow button. This is Podpinions.